today's meeting. Please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. It doesn't look like we have visiting Rotarians, but do we have any guests of Rotarians? Carl?
Well, sitting in President Sharon and fellow Rotarians, I have my son Keith from Portland up here for the holidays.
And Shannon?
Should I do it now?
Sure.
Wrap it all in. Fellow Rotarians and guests, I am very happy to introduce my friend and colleague in the world of the arts, Roger Schmidt. And Roger Schmidt and I have been, and my friends over here, I'm trying to start a dialogue about re-engaging people in the arts in the community. Some of the things we've noticed is adults have been returning in huge numbers, at least in our theater program. People were ready to get back on stage and perform. And then I started talking to people who are working with younger people, and we're noticing some huge gaps in getting kids involved again in performing. And that includes, to some extent, theater, but particularly in music. We're just not seeing the numbers that we're used to seeing. And anyway, I called Roger and we just started brainstorming ideas about ways to get kids interested in singing and playing music, because that is a path to staying involved in school, staying engaged with your friends, and all those things that, you know, I have observed over being in Sitka and in my childhood. So Roger, do you want to let them know what we were talking about? Just an idea. I said, you know, I'm part of Rotary. We love to help kids. We love the arts. But anyway, here's
sure.
Roger's idea.
Well, first of all, just thanks you guys always for donating to our scholarship program. I think it's really important. But yeah, Shannon and I were talking about, and I've seen this all over the state and all over the country when I talk to folks, but like particularly the kids that were in middle school or late elementary school during the pandemic are really having a hard time rejoining. And one of the things the arts does so well is it gives you a community, and it really focuses on your social engagement, your community skills, and we've just seen a big decline. I'm sure Melinda and I we were just talking to the same with dance, that we're just not seeing those younger kids join. So I wanted to, the idea we were talking about is just really specifically is Holiday Brass is coming, and a little shameless plug on that. I hope you'll all come to that. It should be great. But we're also looking for ways to get scholarship tickets to kids that are in the 5th grade or 4th grade that their families might not be able to afford to go. We've got a little scholarship fund on our website that's just scholarships for tickets to shows. And so if you're interested in helping kids and families that might not be able to afford to get to a show, we think that that can be one of the really inspirational ways when a kid sees, you know, a trumpet player or a percussionist playing or a singer, they think, I'd like to do that. And then that drives them to wanting to join the program.
Right, and they're going to be also, they'll be seeing the musicians in the schools, and so it'll be the teachers and the music directors will have an idea of what kids might like to go that might not be able to afford it. So it'll be a real directed, not like random, anyone can have the tickets. It'll be for the needy, for needy people or people who can't afford the.
When is it?
December 17th, it's next Saturday, not the Saturday that's coming, but the following Saturday.
And the tickets are online. I will pay a fine for mentioning the tickets. Fine Arts can't afford Saturday.
Thanks for all your guys' support anyway.
All right, thank you. Do we have any Rotary announcements? Shannon?
Thank you. Kind of a little update or non-update. We're supposed to have a student coming in January. The name of the student, I've announced it before, is Perfect Shangani. And I think I mentioned before, he has been rejected in his first attempt at getting a visa. And the 3 things they mentioned were that it was a very succinct, one paragraph, non-descriptive item. So it was that he lacked sufficient ties to his community, economic ties to his community. So he's going to try again, but I think one of the problems is the person who interviewed him did not know what Rotary was. Rotary Youth Exchange, that's the first time I remember that ever happening. And so, you know, he's going to go in again, and it's a huge hardship on his family to get him to Johannesburg and do the interview at the embassy. So I'm hoping the second attempt will work, and it really kind of upsets me because this is exactly the kind of kid who will get a leg up from youth exchange, or it'll really make a difference in his life for the rest of his life. And to see that the American Embassy did not recognize that and did not, if they knew that we are reliable and we put him on the plane to go back home, and that, you know, immigrating is not the goal of our program, that we really want him to have an impact both here and there. The second half of the program is in South Africa, in Zimbabwe for the rest of his life. Anyway, so fingers crossed for him in his second attempt. I hope he'll be more prepared to answer whatever questions, but anyway, so that's the update. And we have no students going out next year.
And then, Doug
Buried the
Osborne-
lead. No one's going on exchange from Sitka next year.
Doug
But we'll look
Osborne
for,
has an announcement.
what?
We okay? You done?
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, Doug.
Tomorrow, if you want to be in a Rotary picture at the Shikakwan Nakahiti at 5:55, we can take as many Rotarians as will show up. Someone needs to give a $2,000 check. The match that the Rotary did for the Sitka Homeless Coalition was met within a few days, thanks to Karen and Carrie and everybody who donated. The goal is $25,000, and because of Dan Edelman's brother, it's about $19,000 now. But Wednesday at the Shikakwan, we're going to take a picture of the check handoff thing. If you have a Rotary hat, like the Doug Father or anything like that, wear that. We're going to take the picture at the Shikakwan, and then you're welcome to stay. The first 90 people get a complimentary halibut Olympia meal made by the beak chef Renee Trafton, and then there's going to be live music with the 100 Sitka ukulele group, and then you hear the presentation, and then there's tables where you can see the plans of this cabin community you've been supporting, called Ipsi Sani is the name of it. And you can talk to the director. You can see there's a silent auction with some amazing items that you can bid on. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's tomorrow 6 to 8 at the Shikakwan, but if you want to be in the picture, don't wait until 6, come at 5:55, and we can handle multiple Rotarians. So that is tomorrow, 6 o'clock, Shikakwan Nakahiti, 6 to 8. Great cause, great food, live music. I promise a very interesting evening, and this will really help that nonprofit to end 2022 strong and set up for success in 2023. Thanks.
Thanks, Doug. John Stein.
So yesterday, I was approached by Jay Stillwell, and you all know that he had a horrible tragedy here a couple weeks ago. And he came up and wanted to express his deep appreciation for the card that the Rotary sent. So, very nice guy. He said, I've made it to shore, but I haven't made it to home yet. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Marty?
There's on Tuesday next week, this 13th at Kikushihin at 5:30 p.m. a community conversation. Families, parents sitting in a circle talking about gaps in early childhood education, in transitioning also into kindergarten and beyond. Where are gaps? Where are strengths? It's put on by the Sitka School District and the Alaska Association of School Boards, and if you could help spread the word in any way, or make the parents of families aware of it, it'd be appreciated. Tuesday, December 13th, 5:30 p.m. at Kikushihin, and I'll send a flyer to this group.
Catherine, did you have an announcement
Oh, yeah. Next week, we're gonna have, at our lunch meeting, we're gonna gift wrap gifts that we're giving to the Pioneer Home. It'll just be kind of hanging out, so if you want to bring treats to share, you're welcome to do that. And then the following Tuesday meeting, we're gonna do a big gift exchange like we used to do. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Secret Santa.
Secret, well, yeah, we won't have assigned names, but we'll do it where you can like swap the gifts. So if you can do a gift between like $20 and $30, like a nice gift, and I think you can steal up to 3 times. You remember how we used to do that, so hopefully people will want to come and enjoy that as well. I think we always had a really good time doing that, so.
So like regular gifts, not just gifts.
Yeah, nice gifts. Like a gift that you would want to receive.
Do you want paper, wrapping paper?
Yeah, if you have paper,
The paper.
scissors or tape, but we will also like, yeah. I think on the announcement we have like bring your own tape, BYOTNS, bring your own tape and scissors. So yeah, so that's what we have coming up for the next 2 meetings. I'm sorry, could you hear me at all? Thank you.
And then also, just so everyone knows, we're not going to have a meeting the Tuesday after Christmas. So December 27th, there will be no meeting. So don't come here. And
Where will the gift exchange be taking place?
Here. Yeah, we'll do it here.
so anybody who comes next week, bring a gift if you would like to participate.
Oh, no.
Or not next week, 2 weeks. Well, you can bring me one next week.
I think it's paper and tape.
Yeah.
So
And
next week,
scissors.
paper, tape, scissors, if you would like a treat, you know.
To share.
To share, to
If
eat.
you want.
The week after that, if you want to participate, bring a gift. It's not at all mandatory that you participate, just so you know. But, you know, then you're gonna just sit and watch the rest of us open gifts and it won't be fun for you. So, okay, does anyone else have any announcements? John?
The preparation phase for Ducks 23 is coming to an end. We've had a really good fall, thanks to many people in this room. A lot more folks have been involved in the preparation than in the past. And of course, we have our benefactor who's kicking in $3,000 of additional prize money. And so this last week, that's made a big difference. So our currently reserved number out of our 5,000 ducks is 3,357. And we had 134 business sponsors. That number will be in the 140 range next week. So we're in really good shape and position to have another sold-out event and have a bunch of money to have to fret over how to put back into the community. Thanks.
Thanks. And Melinda?
Non-Rotary announcement. It's another monthly grind on Saturday. So this one is the Winter Wonderland grind, and Jeff and I have been working hard on it. It should be great. Buy your tickets early because we sold out last time.
Thank you. Okay, and then a reminder that we have the Pioneer Home Christmas Party on December 17th. It's a Saturday, and it's at 12:30 in the afternoon. And so if anyone can come to that, that would be great. That's what the gifts that we're wrapping next week will be for. And anyone who can come to that, if you want to bring another treat, cookies, that type of thing, that would be great. Even if you can't come and you want to bring something, donate it. If you want to make it and drop it off, that would be great. Or contact me, and I can pick it up, or you can drop it off with me and I can take it.
Are we shopping?
We're done. Sorry.
It's okay.
I had to shop a little differently this year. So I did it early. Hold on just a second. Okay, just want to make sure that we didn't have anybody else who wanted to speak on about then. Anyone else have anything that's non-Rotary related, or are we all good? Okay, Catherine, would you like to introduce our speaker for today, please?
Today we have Christina Tierman, who a lot of people know. She's been a gal around town for a while now, and she's a good one. And we also have Dusty Kid on the Zooms. They just started a Friends of the Sitka Animal Shelter, because we don't have a dog catcher or a animal control, I think is nothing against the dogs, but so they're going to talk to us about what they're doing, and I want to thank them and welcome them.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you for the introduction, Catherine, and for the invitation to speak to you all today. I'm really excited to share some more information about our new nonprofit, Friends of Sick Animal Shelter, and talk about how we might be able to work with Rotary Club in the future. My name is Christina Tierman, and I've been in SICA for 7 years. I came in 2015 as an AmeriCorps volunteer, and like many people, planned to stay a year, but I'm still here 7 years later. I spent about 6 years working at the Science Center as the Education and Marine Debris Coordinator, and recently started in a new position with Ocean Conservancy as the Marine Debris Manager for Alaska. So I'm still working closely with the Science Center and have an office based out of the building, but I'm now working solely on trash on beaches. And I have been a volunteer at the animal shelter for about 1.5 years, and I'm the board president of the organization. And I want to make sure, Dusty, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah, I'm the board secretary. I've been a volunteer at the shelter for about 1 year. And the whole concept of the Friends was inspired by Christina, and she's been leading the charge. I'm a born and raised Sitkin. I went away for 45 years. I've been back in town for about 15. And it's a great organization to be part of, and I'm really happy we have a chance to talk to you about it today.
Great, thanks, Dusty. I'm just curious to gauge the audience. Who in here would consider themselves an animal person? If you have a pet, you like animals. An animal person.
Oh, an animal person.
Okay, great. So, whether it's you like cats or dogs, it's proven that having a companion animal, whether it's your own pet or a friend's pet or a childhood pet that you have, they provide us with a lot of happiness. They reduce stress levels and anxiety. They boost serotonin levels, and they can also teach people, especially youth, about how to be responsible. So there's a lot that animals can do for us, and so as an organization, we really want to think about what can we do for the animals to make sure that not only are they there to support us and be our companions, but how can we be their companions and be there to support them as well. And so to start out, I want to tell you a little bit about the journey of our organization. And those of us on the board are obviously animal lovers, and some of us volunteers. And we started meeting a little over a year ago, October 2021. We saw this gap in the community. We had an animal control officer at the time, but the animal control officer is in charge of the enforcement of animal ordinances, going after loose dogs, trapping cats, but also maintaining the shelter, coordinating volunteers, facilitating adoptions, and making sure the animals at the shelter are cared for. And that's a lot of work for one person to do. And the shelter has always relied heavily on volunteers. And so we came together and thought that this would be a great opportunity to form a nonprofit that could help support the shelter. And so we incorporated as a nonprofit with the state of Alaska in November 2021. In February of this year, we formed our strategic plan. And that has both our short-term and long-term goals, and I'll be sharing some of those with you guys today. In March of this year, we were approved as a 501c3 recognized nonprofit with the IRS. So that was a big milestone for us. And then in July of this year, we had our first public outreach event. We had a fundraiser at Mean Queen called Pizza for Paws. And that we raised over $3,000 at that event, and we were really excited to do kind of our first promotion within the community. It was also around that time that the animal control officer resigned from that position. And then this August, we got an AmeriCorps volunteer who is now serving full-time at the shelter Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. And our AmeriCorps volunteer, Jerry Kelrooney, who some of you may know, he is in charge of the volunteer coordination, animal care, and helping facilitate adoptions. And I want to make a special shout out to the Friends of Newport Beach Animal Shelter, which was co-founded by my grandmother who lives in Southern California. And they really helped us in the beginning stages, navigating the process of starting a nonprofit. None of us had ever done that before. There's a lot of different paperwork and things that go into it, so that was really helpful to have their support. And then Jim Rogers, the former animal control officer, was very supportive throughout the whole process of us forming, and is still very involved with the shelter today as a volunteer. And so this is our board of directors. We have 7 board members, and we're really lucky. We have a wide variety of skill sets. 4 of us are very involved volunteers at the animal shelter. Brooke Volskink is in finance, and she's our treasurer, which is very important to have someone who has those skills. Evan Kegley's a vet tech at Sitka Animal Hospital, and Susan Jones has a lot of experience with fundraising. And then Laura, myself, Dusty, and Rhea, we're all very involved volunteers at the shelter. So our mission is to provide quality care to animals in need while offering resources, services, and education to community members. And our vision is that every companion animal in the community has a safe, healthy, and nurturing life with a loving, prepared, and supported owner. So, it's of course about the animals, but it's also about the people. It's making sure that we're not just focusing on the animals, but we're making sure that we have an educated community who knows how to care for their pets, and youth who learn how to be responsible and care for animals at a young age. And so to make sure that we meet this mission and vision, we have 4 pillars. So the first one is shelter support. And so that's supporting the animal shelter in daily operations. And so that includes things like coordinating our volunteers to make sure that there's round-the-clock care for the animals. We also focus on education, so raising awareness of responsible pet ownership. And we work with both youth and adults to educate. And we also want to provide more opportunities for community engagement through events. We want the shelter to be a place that people feel connected to, they feel like they can come to, and we also want to feel like we're a central part of the community. And then prevention. So a lot of people don't know that there's a pretty large feral cat population in Sitka. Some of you, depending on where you live, you may know that. And it's not a problem that's unique to Sitka. There's this problem in many communities, especially island communities around the world. And so we really want to look towards other island communities and see how they have resolved this issue, and focus on offering low-cost spay and neuter clinics to make sure that people get their pets spayed and neutered, and make sure that we reduce the number of feral cats that we have in our community. So that's sort of a long-term goal that we have. And we're a new nonprofit, so a lot of our programs and ideas are kind of still in development, but we do have some programs that we have already started. So we have a very robust volunteer program. We have over 45 currently active volunteers. And our shelter is unique because we do rely so heavily on the volunteers. Most shelters are fully staffed with multiple animal control officers and technicians that care for the animals, but at our shelter, we don't have that. So volunteers are responsible not only for the fun things like walking dogs and playing with kittens, but they also get to do the not so fun things like cleaning out kennels, which you can imagine are not always clean, changing the litter boxes, doing laundry, doing dishes, things like that. So we rely a lot on our volunteers, and we're really lucky that we have such a robust volunteer program. We also do some work with the schools. Right now we have Sitka High School and Mount Edgecombe High School students that come over once a week to work on different projects that we have. They help us organize and catalog donations, and then they also work on socializing some of the animals that we have. We also have a pretty large foster network. We currently have 31 animals at the shelter, which is like the lowest I've seen it since I've started volunteering there. And 22 of those animals are in foster care. And shelters could be a stressful environment for animals, especially animals that, were either surrendered and they're used to living in a house with a family and their people, and then they come to a shelter, or even animals that were trapped outside, like the feral cats that have never lived indoors. Coming and living in a cage is really hard for them, and so it's best to have the animals only in the shelter for a short amount of time and then go to a foster home where they can really open up and relax and socialize so that they're more adoptable. And then in the last few months, we started a weekend event. It's once a month on Saturday. We do a Coffee with Cats adoption event. And so we open up the doors and community members can come, enjoy a cup of coffee, have a treat, and visit with animals. And there are studies that show that if people come and actually see an animal and even pet the animal, they are much more likely to adopt the animal. So it's great to get people physically in the doors meeting these animals. And during COVID, the shelter, was closed off to visitors, so we're trying to open it up again and have more people come through the building. And this is a photo of some of our volunteers. I just want to make sure to thank them because they really are such an important part of the work that we do at the shelter. One of the things that was also a priority for us was having a website so that people could go find out information about the shelter, learn about events, and also see what animals were available for adoption, especially during COVID when people weren't allowed to visit the shelter. There wasn't really a way to figure out what animals were there. And so we have a website, and you can go learn about the organization. You can download a volunteer and adoption application. You can donate online, and you can view all the animals that are currently at the shelter. We're proud of the outreach that we've already done since our formation, and we've already worked with a lot of different organizations and businesses and community members, and we're really grateful for the support that we've had so far. We're excited about the possibility of adding the Rotary Club to this list. One of the things we have done is we walked in the 4th of July parade, and Harry Race Printing was kind enough to make the large cat banner that we had on the side of Dusty's car and print the banner that we walked with, so we're really grateful for them. Like I mentioned, the Pizza for Paws fundraiser at Mean Queen, they've been really supportive of the animal shelter. Our AmeriCorps volunteer started in August, and he's brought in other AmeriCorps members to volunteer at the shelter. We have a close relationship with Sarah Laurie in the AmeriCorps program. The Sitka Classical Learning Center and the Girl Scouts have done litter and food drives for us. Most recently, we did a pet portrait fundraiser. 5 photographers in town donated their time and services to take photos of families with their pets, and we were able to raise about $3,000 through that fundraiser. And then tomorrow, the 4-H program is making dog treats out of salmon that they have, and they're going to be selling them this weekend at the Maiden Sitka Market as a fundraiser for the Friends of Sitka Animal Shelter. So we're really excited about all these partnerships that we've already formed, and we're excited about the possibility of forming new partnerships moving forward. We do have some programs that we're planning to start in the new year. We received a grant from the Sitka Legacy Foundation for $4,000 for the PAWS program, promoting adoptions within Sitka. And so for every person that adopts an animal, they'll receive an adoption kit that has everything they need for the first week of having that animal in their house. So food, treats, a toy, and then also a pamphlet that has information on how to welcome a new pet into your home. And we also received a grant for $5,000 through the Alaska Community Foundation called Teachers Pets. And so this is working with the school district. We have a few different programs that we're deciding between doing, but one of them is called Cat Tales, T-A-L-E-S. So it's a reading program to help struggling readers in elementary school. There's a lot of shelters that have done this, where you have kids come read to the animals, and it's a less intimidating environment, and so it actually helps improve their literacy skills. We have someone who is wanting to help us start a compassionate care fund, which is essentially a scholarship fund for people who need help funding vet care for their animals, because as you know, that can be quite expensive. And so someone donated $5,000 for us to get that fund going, and so we're currently looking at ways that we can sustain that fund moving forward. And then we're also planning to start a pet food pantry where struggling families can come and pick up food and litter and treats and other things that they might need for their pets. So this is kind of just a list of the things that we're working on, and I hope it paints kind of a good picture of what we've done and where we're at and where we're going. And as a new organization, it's really exciting because the possibilities are endless on what we can do. But it's also hard because the possibilities are endless and we don't really know exactly where to start. And we're really thankful. I know this is a terrible blurry picture, but it's the only one they had on the animal shelter website. We're so thankful that we have a physical space, and the physical space was made possible in 1996 when some volunteers who called themselves the Friends of Sitka Animal Shelter, which I didn't know this until after our nonprofit formed, and they were a group of volunteers who came together and helped fundraise for a physical space. And so this is a list of people who donated to that. And the building is just fine, and it keeps our animals safe and dry. But there's a lot of work that could be done so that we meet the current animal care standards that there are now. And so we're hoping that we can present some possible project ideas to you guys that might be some things that we can collaborate on in the future. And these projects are things that will help both the animals and the community of Sitka. And so I'm going to talk just about kind of 3 main projects that are our top priority right now. One of them is a new welcome sign. One of them is an outdoor dog run. And one of them is revamping our cat rooms. So I'll talk about each of these in a little bit more detail. So our current welcome sign is anything but welcoming. The photo on the left is, from a few years ago, maybe more than just a few, and the sign looks fine, you can read it, but the photo on the right I took last night is of the current sign. You can hardly read it, and this is the first thing that people see when they drive up to the shelter. So we would love to have a sign that sort of represents this sort of new start that we have. We feel like this would be a great project to start with and sort of represent the growth that we're hoping to work towards with the shelter. So, something like the Welcome to Sitka sign or the Raptor Center signs, those are beautiful signs that are very welcoming, and we would love to have something like that. So this is the inside of the animal shelter. I'm curious, who in here has been to the animal shelter? So this is what it looks like. Most volunteers and people who are visiting come through kind of the back door, and this is what you walk into, and it's these dog kennels. And they take up a lot of space. There's room for, I think, 18 dogs, and the most dogs I've seen there is about 5. So it's a lot of wasted space, but it's also only indoors. And so the dogs at the shelter are either inside in their kennels or outside on a leash. They never have the opportunity to be outside running around, fetching a ball, or socializing with other dogs. And so creating an outdoor dog run is another one of our top priorities, and in talking with the local dog trainer, Karen Royce, she has said, especially for dogs that have behavioral issues, which many of the dogs that come to the shelter unfortunately do, it's really important that they get the exercise that they need so that, then when they're back in the shelter, they're calm and they can interact with people in, a kinder, gentler way. And then another priority for us is revamping our cat rooms. So right now, the cat rooms are fine. They provide the space that the cats they need to stay safe and dry. But it is also, proven that the physical exercise and engagement is not the only thing that's important. It's also the mental enrichment and engagement that they get that helps cats stay happy and healthy. And so a lot of shelters have started creating these rooms that have, kind of a jungle gym and more activities for the cats to do to help stimulate them and engage them. And then also having furniture that you can sanitize. So diseases can spread very easily in shelters, and those carpeted scratch posts, as silly as it seems, but bacteria and viruses, you just can't clean those off. And so having cat towers and furniture that can be sanitized would help decrease the amount of diseases that can spread throughout shelters. And so those are kind of our main priorities. Of course, we have a lot of different projects that we would love to work towards, but these are ones that we feel are achievable within the next year, and we would be very interested in talking more with you guys about of what this could look like moving forward. And I just wanted to end with some success stories. So, sometimes this work can be really hard and sad. You go to the shelter and, especially for animal lovers, we want to be there to help the animals, but no one wants to see a sad animal in a cage. And so going to the shelter can be difficult. But what makes it all worth it is when we see animals that come in like this. This was a cat that was a feral kitten trapped under a porch, very scared when she first came in. She just was adopted to a couple living in Wrangell, and she's living a happy and healthy life there, and the owners love her very much. Another cat that came to the shelter, that was a feral cat, which many of the cats that come in, they were once feral. When their ears are like that, that's a really bad sign. They're really scared and do not want any human touch. And this was after a month or two of working with this cat, getting it into a foster home. It is now successfully adopted, living in a family, living a very happy life. We recently had 2 ferrets come into the shelter. They were trapped at Whale Park. And thankfully, we have a ferret lover in our town, and she adopted both ferrets to join her ferret family. She now has 5, and they have an entire room in her house dedicated to them. So we're really thankful for her for taking these ferrets. And she signed up for the pet portrait fundraiser, so she brought her ferrets to Crescent Harbor for the photo shoot. And then we do have dogs as well. I know I've been focusing a lot on cats, but we do have definitely more cats than dogs, but since I've been there, we've had a couple of dogs at any given time. Right now we have 3 dogs at the shelter. And so Buddy the dog was adopted by one of our board members and is very happy. So I just wanted to thank you guys so much for letting me talk to you today about our organization. And we're excited about the possibility of collaborating with you in the future. The Rotary Club, you guys are known for doing such amazing work and being movers and shakers, and even just listening to the first part of your meeting, all the different projects you guys are involved with is really impressive. So thank you for your time. And if you guys have any questions, I think we have a little bit of time.
We have an announcement that after this meeting, anybody who would like to be on the committee looking at how we can partner with the animal shelter, we'll have a very short meeting, mainly just to see who wants to do it and how we might proceed.
Yeah, Shannon.
You mentioned working with Wrangell. Are you looking at our shelter as being a little bit of a regional hub for shelters? I know Juneau has a really busy shelter, at least one.
Yeah.
But is that, you communicate a lot with other communities?
So that is one of our long-term goals, is to get to a place where we can support other communities, especially communities that don't have shelters. We've some families in Cape reached out to us who have trapped cats and want to send them to us. It's hard because Sitka has such a problem already with our feral cats, and the city is not accepting feral cats right now without an ACO. This is kind of a new thing they just started about maybe 2 months ago. And but if when we are trapping cats here, we are at full capacity pretty regularly. So we would love to figure out a way to offer spay and neuter clinics to other communities and help support them, because it is challenging for them. And I recently was in Juneau at the Juneau Animal Rescue, and yeah, they're at full capacity, and they said they're having 2 to 3 surrenders a day, whereas, and they're seeing a huge increase since COVID, because a lot of people adopted animals during COVID when they were working from home, and then went back to work and are not able to care for them. So they're seeing a big increase in that. And we've also seen there are definitely more surrenders. It's not every day, but yeah, we noticed that as well. Definitely more dogs within the last 2 years than have been seen in the past. Yeah.
Is the city going to hire another animal control officer?
It's an open position. They're advertising for it. They've had no applicants. So it's been open since July.
Can you stop sharing the screen so we can
Yes.
see the
Yeah.
Zoom people? Thank you. Just in case they have questions.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
So, who will pick up a stray dog if the owner is a terrible owner?
So the police department right now, the general police officers are filling in that role. and then bringing them to the shelter to us. And then we're working closely with them. I mean, they can't tell us all the details of reasons why we can't release a dog to an owner, but they'll give us a list of names of people that dog can't be released to. So they're still doing it. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there still a veterinarian associated with the shelter?
Yeah, so the vet, Sick Animal Hospital, Dr. Wolf, her practice is still connected to the shelter, so she's not the shelter vet. She does do a lot of work for the shelter, and they provide a discount to the shelter. They're going to be moving out within the next year. They have another location that they're moving to. So we're hoping to expand into that space and maybe keep sort of a clinic area where we could have vet students. We have a relationship with University of Alaska Fairbanks, which has a vet school in partnership with Colorado State University. So bringing up vet students to run spay and neuter clinics for us. So that's kind of longer term, but yeah. Yeah.
I had a quick comment.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share that I have a rescue from the animal shelter, and he's a big chocolate lab, and we just have had such a great experience finding a rescue and then adding him to our family. So I really appreciate the work that you guys are doing and the efforts of the volunteers to really step up and support so that we didn't lose the shelter in this time of transition with Ken leaving. So thank you very much for your work.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for adopting.
Is any cat that you trap considered feral, or is there a certain definition of feral cat?
There is, so we have a scale at the shelter, like 1 to 10, and we do our best to assess when the cat comes in. You can tell pretty immediately if a cat is feral, if it's like freaking out in the trap. But some cats are just scared, even like a house cat is scared and it's freaking out. We've had cats that come in and we'll rate them like a 10 on the aggressive scale, which is the highest. But then within like a couple days they calm down, and then we realize they must be someone's pet. So not every cat. I mean, a lot of people have indoor-outdoor cats, but the feral ones are ones that have never had contact with people before, and were most likely born outside and have lived their whole life outside.
Can they be good pets?
They can actually. I have 2 feral cats. Dusty has 3 he got as kittens. It's like the first 12 weeks is like a critical time for them, and if you trap them within that time frame, you can socialize them pretty quickly. After that, it does get harder, and it just really depends. The cat that I have now, I've been fostering since April, and she's just now letting me pet her. And some cats, they never will accept human contact. Yeah.
If I had an animal and I need to be gone for a month, do you do any housing of animals like that?
Unfortunately, we don't right now. We just don't have the capacity to do it. We have enough work just with the animals at the shelter. It's something I know that the animal hospital used to do. They used to board animals, and something we've thought about maybe doing in the future as a source of revenue for us, but unfortunately right now, we don't do that. Yeah. We do have a list of pet sitters that we can send out to people.
On a different strange
Yeah.
question, do you ever take in squirrels and raccoons and other kinds of creatures?
We haven't, and I don't think we have the skills to handle that. But it's interesting because some of the feral cats that are brought in are essentially like, a squirrel or a raccoon. They're a wild animal. So, but no, we don't deal with wildlife. I know that Dr. Vosberg has taken in wildlife and treated them, so she would probably be the go-to person. I don't want to speak for her, but yeah.
When are you going to get your YouTube channel so we can watch rescues and the link to donating right there?
I know, we want to have like a live stream in the rooms because
In the cat room.
They're especially the more feral ones are way more active at night, and I would love to see what they're doing. Yeah.
Is there a difference between a stray cat and a feral cat? I mean, when we adopted a cat from Anchorage once, it was labeled stray cat.
Mhm.
Is that a different word for feral?
Yeah, it is a little confusing, and I've heard that a stray is an animal that once had a home and is now homeless. So it has had that interaction with humans, and feral. A lot of people, the vets use the word fractious, and that means that it's more aggressive rather than the word feral. So it is kind of a spectrum. Like we have some that we label as sort of semi-feral, but yeah, you can tell pretty quickly whether a cat is feral.
So like, let's say you've got a cat that is begging food at a restaurant. The cat we adopted in Anchorage was begging food at the Tasty Freeze.
Yeah, that's a stray. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
The feral ones, you rarely see them because they're hiding. They're only out at night. Yeah.
Yeah, I got 3 feral cats here who are no longer feral. I kind of define it as the human contact. If they're a generation removed from human contact, they're feral to me. And another thing worth noting, if you look at studies of 2 mating cats, the reason we're so focused on spay and neuter, 2 cats over 5 years and have a total, believe it or not, of 15,000 offspring through the layers of breeding in 5 years. So Sitka definitely has a feral cat problem. It's not healthy for the animal, but it's also not healthy for people. And so it's really important that we try to get that population domesticated and spayed and neutered and in homes where they get a good environment as well.
Yeah.
So the eagles are not doing their job.
Cats are smarter than eagles.
Yeah, they're fast and they're smart, the cats.
The former animal control officer told me that the #1 predator for kittens in the woods are ravens, not eagles, which surprised me. I didn't know that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other announcements before we end the meeting? Remember, we're going to have a little committee meeting with Carrie in the back if you want to be on the committee for our club helping out with the shelter. Okay, otherwise, we'll see you hopefully here next week to wrap some gifts. Bring a treat if you would like. If not, come and enjoy a treat, hopefully we'll have. And we'll see you then.
Thank you.
Thank you.